The year was 1887, a time of shifting empires and bloody conflicts. Nations fought for dominance, drawing battle lines on maps as if lives were mere numbers. Among the chaos, a company of U.S. soldiers was sent to the Philippine archipelago, tasked with securing American interests in the region. Captain James Calloway, a hardened officer with years of battlefield experience, led Company D of the 9th Infantry Regiment into the heart of enemy territory. Their orders were clear: capture and hold the vital supply route through the Luzon jungle. What they didn't know was that an army of native Filipino resistance fighters was waiting in the shadows, preparing for a battle that would test the limits of courage, endurance, and the brutal cost of war. Chapter 1. Into the Unknown. The morning mist clung to the dense jungle, creating an eerie silence as Captain Calloway's company moved forward in tight formation. The dirt path beneath their boots was barely visible, swallowed by thick vegetation. The Filipino resistance fighters, known as the Katipunan, had the advantage. They knew the terrain, they knew the tactics, and they had the will to fight. Lieutenant Samuel Porter, a younger officer full of ambition, walked beside Calloway. "Sir, the reports say the enemy is massing near the river. Do you think they'll attack before we reach the pass?" Calloway glanced at the dense trees surrounding them. "They'll attack when they're ready. Stay sharp." Sergeant Henry Walsh, an experienced soldier, stopped in his tracks. "Sir, the birds. They've gone silent." That was the only warning they received before gunfire erupted from the trees. Chapter 2. The First Strike. Bullets tore through the jungle as the Filipino fighters ambushed the American soldiers. The crack of rifles echoed through the trees, and the air filled with smoke and shouts. Calloway dived behind a fallen log, firing his revolver toward the enemy. "Take cover. Return fire." Lieutenant Porter shouted orders to his men. "Form a defensive line. Fire at will." The jungle came alive with chaos. Musket shots and Springfield rifles cracked in a deadly exchange. The Filipinos, fast and disciplined, moved through the trees like ghosts. American soldiers dropped one by one, cut down by unseen marksmen. Sergeant Walsh grabbed a wounded soldier, dragging him behind cover. "We need to fall back, sir. We're outnumbered." Calloway knew the truth. If they retreated now, they would be slaughtered in the open. "Hold the line. Focus your fire on the tree line." The battle raged for what felt like an eternity, but finally, the enemy withdrew into the shadows. Smoke lingered in the air as Calloway surveyed his battered men. 15 were dead, more wounded. And this was only the beginning. Chapter 3. The Long Night. They dug into defensive positions as darkness fell. The wounded moaned softly as medics worked to save lives. Calloway walked through the camp, exhaustion weighing heavily on his shoulders. Lieutenant Porter approached. "Sir, rations are low, and we lost half our ammunition in the fight. If we don't reach the pass by morning, we're finished." Calloway nodded grimly. "Then we move at first light." In the darkness, the enemy watched, waiting for their moment to strike again. Chapter 4. The River Crossing. The company reached the Pasig River by dawn, but the bridge had been destroyed. The only way across was through the swift, treacherous waters. Sergeant Walsh shook his head. "If we cross here, we're sitting ducks." Calloway had no choice. "We'll cross in groups. Keep your rifles dry." As the first men stepped into the water, the attack came. Gunfire rained down from the cliffs above. Calloway fired back, shouting, "Get to the other side." Men scrambled through the water, slipping on the rocks as bullets tore the river apart. Some didn't make it. Bodies floated downstream, lifeless and broken. On the far shore, those who survived took cover and returned fire. The enemy pressed hard, but the Americans fought with everything they had. After what seemed like an eternity, the last shot echoed through the valley, and the battle fell silent. They had won the crossing, but at a terrible cost. Chapter 5. The Final Stand. By nightfall, the company reached the edge of San Rafael Pass, the strategic point they had been ordered to take. But waiting for them was a force twice their size, entrenched in fortified positions. Lieutenant Porter tightened his grip on his rifle. "We can't win this fight, sir." Calloway stared at the enemy position. "We don't have a choice." The final battle began before dawn. The Americans charged the hill, bullets flying, bayonets flashing in the dim light. The jungle became a graveyard as both sides clashed in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Sergeant Walsh fell, struck by a bayonet. Porter was hit, clutching his bleeding side. Calloway fought like a man possessed, leading his men through the chaos. Finally, as the sun rose, the American flag was planted at the top of the pass. They had won, but at a price too steep to celebrate. Epilogue: The cost of war. Only 18 men remained of the original company. Calloway stood among the fallen, exhaustion etched into his face. War had given them victory, but it had taken everything in return. And as the world moved on, the battle they fought would be forgotten, lost in the pages of history.